when someone says, okay, there is this much potassium argon in this item, and it takes 40,000 years for it to dissipate. It's only got this much, half of it, which means it must be 20,000 years old. This would mean the person making the measurement must be at least 40,000 years old to have seen it dissipate, to have measured it. That is impossible. So what are they doing? They are inferring, number one. And number two, they are assuming that these elements and these principles are constant. I do not do that. I don't believe the earth is 6,000 years old, just to state that on the mic. I don't. But I don't believe it's 4.6 billion either, because of studies that I've done at Niakani Bay, studies that I've done of the rock formations, myself and other people who are actually scientists. I don't consider myself a scientist, but they've actually looked into these matters. And they have not seen the sedimentary layers. They've not seen the fossils perfectly lining up and other things like that. It's just, it doesn't exist. What they've seen is just a steady laying of sediment over a period of time. Now, sometimes sediment can look very old when it's actually young, because of how swiftly it's been laid and how it's dried over a short period of time in rain. Sometimes sediment can look young, but it can be thousands or several thousand years old or more because of the fact of how it's aged. Like, for example, there's an obsidian flow in northern Oregon. Obsidian forms because, I'll just say this very quickly, I want to get through it. Obsidian forms when you have this lava overflow and it's dried very quickly and it becomes smooth and crystalline. So smooth it's sharp, it can cut. Now, it looks, from all intents and purposes, so this is quite young, but it's actually thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Not as Carl Sagan says, billions and billions, no, thousands and thousands of years old. Even though it looks young. But then you'll see igneous flows that look old that are young. Obsidian flows that look young that are old. Because it's weathering, it's aging. They weren't in a vacuumed atmosphere. There was a lot of weathering and a lot of other things that were going on. And so you have to use a holistic method. We as Muslims do not subscribe to uniformitarianism. The earth over billions and billions of years old, there was this organic soup, and we don't subscribe to that position. But we don't exclusively subscribe to catastrophism, which is the earth that we live in was formed by sudden, horrific, catastrophic events all of a sudden. Both of those are correct. And Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah walks the middle path between catastrophism and uniformitarianism. I'm sorry for throwing in all this stuff, but it's important because there may be some people that are science heads that may be listening to this that will hear it besides just us. So uniformitarianism, years and years of sediment being laid, animals being wiped out, that's true. But then you have catastrophism, where you found perfectly preserved woolly mammoths, wool still on them, frozen solid. His mouth is open, it still has grass in it. He was also relieving himself so that his feces is actually frozen. So he was killed suddenly in mid-chew and in mid-relief, frozen suddenly. Now that's not uniformitarianism. Something hit that little guy all of a sudden. He didn't even have a chance to reply, no chance to run, no chance to even scream because his mouth is frozen open. He didn't have a chance to scream. You find examples of frozen men who their mouth is open. I don't know whether they were either being attacked or whether something came. They were hit by an avalanche or something, and his mouth is frozen open. And the food in his stomach is still fresh, which means he just eaten. That's not uniformitarianism. That food would have to be billions and billions of years old, but it's not. It's younger than him because he ate it, and then all of a sudden he was hit by something sudden. But then at the same time, you find rock flows of leaves where you can see where there's grass, and you find rocks and you crack them open and you see there are leaves and petrified fossil leaves inside, and you say, subhanAllah, this used to be an ocean floor. Well, how did the grass and everything work? And that's when you start realizing that uniformitarianism has been at work there. They're both principles that work on our earth. I would say to walk a middle line. Do not take the Pastor John Hagee position of a literal 6,000-year-old Earth, or the Kent Hovind position, because that's not tenable. But I wouldn't take Christopher Hitchens, who's dying of cancer currently, and Richard Dawkins as examples either, because there's flaws there as well. We should take our Muslim scientists as an example. So I'm sorry that was so drawn out. Yes? Okay, so if there's no further example, or no further question, we'll close from today, inshallah, and we'll see you next week. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم أستغفر الله إن الله غفور رحيم يرحمني ولا إله إلا الله. السلام عليكم.